Hello friends, this is Vicki for Whimsy Stamps, here to share a video with you on how I made these really cute pocket tissue holders. I'm going to show you how I made this one in particular with the little pill bottle on it. I'm going to start out with a sheet of 8.5 by 11 inch piece of cardstock, cut in half at 4 1/4 inches, so you can easily make two of these at the same time if you want. I'm going to take it to the scoreboard on the 11-inch side and score it at 1/2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, and 6.5 inches. I'm just going to take my bone folder and reinforce the score marks that I just made. And you can quickly see how this comes together. So I've used this Whimsy Stamps Get Well Editions die set and cut a bunch of pieces from the set. And I've also cut pieces of white cardstock at 3/4 inches, 2 1/4 inches, and 3 1/4 inches panels, all at 4 inches wide. I'll show you what I'm going to do with those later. But for right now, I'm taking these little pills from the die set and assembling the half pill portions to the longer pill, which I guess makes them look like little capsules. They remind me of the Tylenol capsules. So I cut out the long ones in yellow cardstock and the little half ones in the red cardstock. Must set those aside to dry, and then I'm going to take the bottle portions of the die set and I'm going to give them a little depth and dimension by going around the edges with my foam tool and my tumble glass distress ink. If you look at the lid on this bottle, it's so cute because it has little ridges on it. It makes it look so realistic. And of course I took some brown distress ink and went around the edge of the bottle itself. Now I'm just taking my multi-medium matte glue and attaching both the lid and the label portions on the bottle. And then I'm just going to set that aside and let that dry while I work on my white cardstock pieces. So I have this Clearly Whimsy stamp set called Circles, Circles, Circles. And I'm going to take some inks that I chose. I chose yellow, red, and like a crap colored ink. And I'm going to take various images from the stamp set and stamp them all over the white cardstock panels that I've cut out. This is one of my favorite things to do with my stamps. I love to design. I love to make my own designer paper because you can custom make them in your own colors and whatever patterns that you want. So from the same Get Well Soon stamp set, I am taking the sentiment called Wishing You a Speedy and stamping that in black. And I have my pill bottle sitting there. It's not attached, so I can line it up. And then I'm taking the recovery word and stamping that in red, which will be perfect because I have someone in mind that I want to give this to today. So I'm just rounding the edges of that panel as well as the tissue holder itself with my corner chomper. And then I'm just going to take my adhesive runner and attach the strip that goes in the front of it with my stamp panel. So where the tissue comes out, I need to make a hole. So I've taken an oval punch and punched it out on a piece of scrap paper. And I'm taking my temporary adhesive and placing it, kind of centering it where I think it should go and repositioning it. Once I have it where I think it should be, I just punch it out with my oval punch. And you certainly don't have to use an oval punch or punches. You can use die cuts, or it can be any shape that you want it to be wherever the tissue comes out. Then I'm going to go ahead and attach it where the tissue comes out on the holder. And then I'm going to fold that corner over so my punch can reach the oval and just punch that out again. So now I'm going to show you how I put the rest of this together. And I'm going to take the pill bottle and use some foam tape and cut it in pieces and just pop that up on the front of it. And then I thought the heart looked a little plain by itself on the label. So I took there's little hearts in the die cut set that I cut out in red. So I'm just using my quick sticks tool to try and pick those up, and I've glued those on my bottle. Now I'm gluing all the pills, and once I've got it all put together and piled on, I'm using some glossy accents, and I've also used my clear Wink of Stella glitter pen to go over portions of that. taking another scrap piece of paper and punching out another oval, and then a slightly larger scalloped oval to go over top of it to make this frame for the opening in the tissue holder. And then I'm just going to take my glue for that, and then I'm just going to glue it right over top of the opening in the tissue holder. Just gives it another nice decorative element to it. And then of course you want something really strong, because this is going to be handled a lot and tissues are going to be pulled out of it. So I have some red line tape that I'm using to hold it in place. And when you go to attach it, I like to take the pocket tissues themselves and go ahead and put it in there before I put it together, so I know exactly where it's going to be. And then I just flip it over and use my adhesive to go directly onto that. And I think I'm afraid that the glossy accents are still wet, so I'm placing that right over top of my tissue holder, being careful not to touch the pills with glossy accents. And you can see I've added my twine to it, and that's how you put together the tissue holder. I went ahead and made another one while I had my products out, and I've used that stamp set to stamp a background with Band-Aids as well as the first aid sign in red. And I also took this Ginny Has the Cure from the Alba Art Collection, and I colored her in and I propped her up on there. And I also took the Hugs from the same stamp set, and I die cut it out with the stitch tag dies. So I hope you've enjoyed my tutorial on these pocket tissue holders. Thanks so much for stopping by.